correct? And the storm hit, and you couldn't live in the house anymore. So how did you find yourself to the shelter? Do you speak Spanish, first of all?
Only a little bit, a few words here and there.
So how soon after the hurricane hit did you end up in the shelter?
About 3 days. You see, the house didn't suffer any significant damage, but the owners decided to shut down the house. They decided to shut down the house, and they wasn't staying there. They were staying somewhere else that was more comfortable for them on the island. So once they decided to shut down the house, in my mind, I was like, okay, I'm gonna get a taxi to the San Juan airport. Okay, yeah, so how do I get a taxi if no communications aren't working, no Wi-Fi, no nothing? Well, I'm gonna go to the police station. Surely they have communications. Well, I went to the police station. It was like, we have no communications. No Wi-Fi, no internet, no nothing. So, they couldn't give me a taxi, so they took me to the shelter. And I've been there ever since.
Which shelter?
I don't know the name of it, but...
So you ended up there 3 days after the hurricane?
Mm-hmm.
3 days
You've been
after.
there for 3 weeks now?
Something like that. I didn't count, but something like that.
So what kind of emotions are you having?
Emotions? Joy, happiness, bliss.
No, I mean, while you were in the shelter?
Joy, happiness, bliss.
Good for you.
Yeah.
That's right, always.
I was there helping the other people and lifting their spirits, I always tell people that, whatever we send out is what we get back. If you send out high spirits, high energy, whatever you want to call it, life, God, universe, whatever people want to call it, gives it back, So, yeah. So the same thing I'm feeling now is feeling it then, just a little bit surprised because of the change in circumstance so quickly.
I also think that God, for me, God, and it could be different things for different people, that God, or the universe for some people, we're always where we're supposed to be at that moment.
Yeah, that's right.
And
Synchronicity.
our other job is to, as you said, it's to find who am I supposed to help today? Now, like, what do I need? If you start doing that, you get these things called worry, Worry is a lack of faith, because God will say, I got your back, and you're like, no, you don't. I feel this thing called worry coming off you. If you knew I had your back, you wouldn't be worrying, but you're worrying. Forgive us because we're less than perfect. That's such a great perspective you have,
I was just talking to somebody about worrying. I said that worrying means that you suffer before the potential danger even arrives.
Right, you're projecting a future outcome that maybe that's not going to happen.
Exactly, that's fear. That's the basis of all fear. You imagine an outcome that you don't prefer to experience and then believe that it's going to happen. In many ways, it's a mental illness. I know that's a little bit.
Well, it's sort of it's
true.
What we would say is an emotional handicap. There's this thing called indecision that I talk to people about, and what is that? Indecision is the paralysis of the thought process. Because a fear-based person says, well, if I do this, well, this bad thing could happen. Like, well, I don't want that to happen, so I won't do that. Like, it's not a guarantee, but you say there's worry about that. If I do this bad thing could happen. I don't want that to happen either. Like, well, who would want a bad thing to happen? So you know what they do? They just sit on the fence, indecisive, and like, that's a decision unto itself that has its own consequences, right?
Yeah.
But if you're fear-driven, you'll be paralyzed. So in our own selfishness and our self-worry, and like, what are you worried about? Stop worrying. Find someone to help. Get your sight outside yourself, because certainly many people are, way worse than, most of us are, But I also believe that God, you're meant to be where you are now, too. We all are, I guess, otherwise we wouldn't be here. You especially, I think, more than me.
In those moments of indecision, when you don't know what to do, I just think people should chill and it'll come to you. When you're receptive.
How old are you?
25, chronologically speaking.
What was that moment like when the Louisiana delegation asked you to come now?
Oh, I started thinking about the people in the shelter because they formed an attachment to me, and so I was like, oh my goodness. And all the children, I entertained them. So I was like, oh my goodness, I have to tell them that I'm going to leave right now.
So how did you discover that?
Well, someone, when we said we were from Louisiana and New Orleans, we said, well, there's someone from New Orleans here. We said, what? Where is he? And so we went to find him.
Yeah.
And they said, well, he's been trying to get home, but I don't think he has a flight until November. We said, well, if he wants to come, he's welcome to come now. Oh, he would probably love that. So here we are.
It's cool that you weren't sweating it.
That's why anything.
Well, what they said is, well, we think that he can do more back home for us after telling the story. They thought that he could do more for
For
the recovery if he got home to tell the story, and they know you won't forget about
And
it.
you can literally say, hey, I was in the shelter, so like they need it. Like, no, I can tell you, this is what they need.
Yeah,
And I mean,
firsthand.
the medical needs, physical needs, one, but emotional and spiritual needs too. I mean,
Yep.
it's amazing the strength of the people in the shelters. We visited about 7 of them. For many of them who don't, either their house is not inhabitable or it might be gone. There's not that much depression. I mean, we saw some suicidality, but very resilient people. They're like, I'm okay. Like, what do you mean you're okay? I have to question that because your home is gone, or they said, well, I have my health and my family is okay. They have the right focus,
Yes. Yep.
100%. I have this story of we were in Ponce, in the city, in the shelters initially, and it's proof that things are working pretty well. That's what we thought in the shelter. So we started pushing out further to try to get more remote, to get into the mountains, and we got to this very remote area. It was so remote. I came around a corner. There was U.S. Army there, and they got out their jeeps and said, "Oh my God, you're like the first medical person we've seen in like the whole time we've been here. How did you get to this remote area?" And like, I got in the car and we started walking. So I said, "Have you guys been getting any health information?" And they said, "There's this one baby that was sick." And I said, "The description, I thought they might need surgery." So I said, "We have to find this kid." And while we're trying to get up the mountain, it was like 2.5 miles of steep mountain. And I'm like, "Oh, right, we have to just get there, You turn this corner and this guy says, what are you doing here?" I said, "Well, I'm a doctor and I'm here to help." He's like, no, what are you doing here? You're my doctor. This guy lived in Chicago. He saw me as a patient. He decided to move to where his family's from in Calneas, this small little mountain town.
You're my doctor.
He says, "You're my doctor." I said, "Oh my God, Felix LaFontaine?" He's like, "Yeah, Felix." And that baby that was sick is his grandson.
Oh, wow. We're on
People say,
takeoff.
well, what a coincidence,
There are no coincidences.
Exactly.
There are none.
That's the hand of God.
Right.
That's God bringing people together.
Exactly.
Or they need to be in this huge planet that I would meet him when his grandson needed the medical evaluation.
Exactly.
I said, "Felix, I'm just going to make a house call. That's what I'm here for."
Right.